Like I said before, guys, when you get to the 10th floor, it's boss time. We have a foreigner enemy. I'm gonna guess that it's probably gonna be Hokusai. I mean, it's a 50-50 shot there. It's either Hokusai or Abby. Anyway, boss enemies tend to have some break bars. And you should probably treat them as an actual enemy, so... Melt. Go kick their butt. Kick the butt. We'll bring a nice little support. Or two. Not a whole lot of quick support out there. This is about as close as I can get. For the most part, unless I brought Alexander. Shota's Alexander.
Good. We've nearly reached the 10th floor.
Are you feeling alright?
Oh yes, I'm not the least bit inebriated. Thank you for your concern, Master. I admit that I was a bit worried about what might happen, but it seems the Oni alcohol fumes need not have been a cause for concern. As long as we keep our spirits high, there's nothing we cannot do. Please be careful, Master. There's someone else on this floor. There you are. About time you got here. We've been up here so long, I was worrying Todo-sama might dry up. That's Katsushika Hokusai. Well, I suppose it would be more accurate to say the father and daughter team of Katsushika Hokusai. You were a famous ukiyo-e artist, were you not? What brings you to this place? My art, of course. What, did you think I was gonna use my paint to make soba or something? I gotta say though, that Oni from Mount Oe is really generous. Take a gander at all the rare paints she got me. I feel like the court artist to the Tokugawa family. So you are here on Shuten Doji's instructions? I wouldn't say instructions, it's more like I just can't say no to girls who look like that. I used to have a little sister, you know? So when they look up at me with their big doe eyes and ask for a favor, all I can say is yes. Of course, with her offering me pretty much any kind of paint I could want, a place on my own where I don't gotta think about nothing but my art, and a bunch of new subjects I ain't heard sight nor sound of before making their way to me of their own accord. With all of that, there's no way I was gonna turn it down anyway.
Subjects?
What, are you serious, Master? Just take a look around. You're surrounded by warriors, generals, monsters, and fairies that look like they walked out of a picture book. So, does this mean that you want to use the servants as models? I bet even the Buddha himself couldn't have known that I'd get to see the famous Lady Samurai from the Genpei War for myself after I croaked. All these different servants are blowing my mind. I can't wait to get painting. Please, forgive my rudeness, but I fear that we are in something of a hurry. We won't have any time to model for you. You're being rude. If anyone's being rude, it's me, you dummy. After seeing how valiant, graceful, and sad you are behind those big red eyes of yours, it'd be rude of me not to paint you. If I just let you go now, the deity of art would wrap me up on my head and ask why I passed you up. I see. Then what would you have us do? Heh, as if you don't already know. If you ask an artist to choose between the brush and the chopsticks, it'd be the brush every time. Hell, if she ain't careful, she might end up eating with her brush. You know, Todo-sama actually did that a good few times before he realized his mistake and spat out his miso soup. Such a waste of good food. Anyhow, if I'm gonna paint something unpaintable, I guess I got no choice but to break out the big brush.
So we are going to have to fight.
Please, stand back, master. I do not wish to turn my blade upon an artist so young and unaccustomed to battle. But if you would stand in our way, then you leave me no choice. Ooh, yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. Those eyes, that spirit, that katana of yours ready to strike. My brush is itching to paint you too. Be warned, if you come at me thinking I'm just some little girl who paints, that choice of yours will be your last mistake. My brush can paint anything and everything. That includes pain, numbness, and shortness of breath. So don't you forget it. Now come on, I'll show you how Hokusai, the great painter of Edo, handles herself in a scrap.
To answer your question, Kyoki Satori, I am using an emulator because it is much more convenient. If we win, then we get Hokusai to paint lewds for us. Calm down, Melt. It was just a poor little normal demon. You didn't need to do 53,000. Oh, she guarded the defense down. Set this up for next turn. Because it's time to hurt. We don't get support servants for any of the floors. I don't think. Well, it was fun. Time to melt her. Easy peasy. Easy breezy. If you don't have an alter ego, just bring any strong single target servants, except for berserkers. And you should do fine.
Damn it, I can't believe you got me. Ah, cha-cha.
Why don't you go rest up in the heart springs outside?
What? Did you just say hot springs? Nobody told me anything about there being hot springs here. Hang on, if there's a hot springs, that means all the beautiful fairies and maidens from all of history who have a contract with Master here are gonna have to soak in them. Ain't no way I'm gonna pass up a chance for that kind of inspiration. I gotta get going. Are you sure about this? It's fine. I got a pretty good idea of how to paint you now, thanks to that scuffle. Besides, at the hot springs, I'll get to see my subjects naked, not like here where everyone's all dressed. It don't take a genius to figure out which one's the better opportunity. Now that that's settled, actually, now that I think about it, maybe I'd better blindfold Todo-sama. Octopus or not, he is still a guy. Gah! Holy hell, he's fast. Todo-sama, you get back here right now! You're trying to sneak into the women's bath, ain't ya? Don't come crying to me if you get boiled and served up as an appetizer!
Godspeed to you, Todo-sama. I wish you the best of luck, my friend. Doing exactly what I would do. I mean, what?
Well, that was a bit of an ordeal, but at least the path to the next floor is now clear. We're likely to encounter other guards like her on the floors above us. But this is only the beginning of our ascent. There's no need to be hasty. Now, let's keep our wits about us and forge ahead one floor at a time.
Meanwhile... Well, this of course pales in comparison to the spaciousness, splendor, and rarity of the spring waters in my noble phantasm's bath. I will grant this water is not terrible, considering it was prepared by a Zashu. As a reward, just this once, I will overlook your transgression of bathing in waters that have touched my royal person. Rejoice, for my kingly aura is now one of the benefits you will enjoy by soaking within these hot springs. But King of Heroes, take a look around. Spoken while gulping down wine. And what of it? This is a Therme. Therme is Roma, and this is Roma too! You call this a bath? I'm truly magnanimous, so I will call it rustic. But if you wish to make something of this place, you shall begin by handing over all that raw materials to me. Do that, and I shall build a grand pyramid-styled golden bathhouse around these hot springs worthy of a pharaoh. Why am I here? Well, why else? To demonstrate that water holds no power over me, nor presents any obstacle. Ha! Going against the running water for vampires. And if you wish to verify that with running water as well, then so be it. Prepare your water, and I shall face it head on. Ho ho! So these waters flow and circulate much as they do in the Nile. I approve! There's nothing but kings here. Their kingdoms may be different in size, but still, to have so many kings in one bath like this... Well, it's not something that you see every day now, is it? It is hardly impressive. These other kings are little more than mockeries of my own royal splendor. It is clear to all that I am the most accomplished when it comes to baths. As such, there is no longer any reason for me to stay. Oh, getting out already? I wouldn't have figured the King of Heroes to have a hard time handling a little bit of hot water. What was that? Fool! I could simply see that these waters were barely able to contain the glory of my royal person, and in my generosity elected to offer them a brief respite. Death from exhaustion is no laughing matter after all. But the time of respite is now past. At the very least, I shall not be raising my royal bottom again until these so-called kings who are enjoying their cheap liquor have been thoroughly boiled. Oh, so you propose a test of endurance? Endurance, you say? That sounds like quite a lot of fun. But be warned, these waters are already hot. We should work up a good sweat indeed by the time it's over. So you'll be joining us too, King of Sparta. This is getting more interesting by the moment. But in that case, this barrel of wine just won't be enough. King of Heroes, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you have a supremely delicious vintage in your possession. Am I right? Hell, I'll bet you've got 100, 200 flasks you could spare without batting an eye. How else could you call yourself the King of Heroes? You have sharp ears, or rather a sharp nose. Indeed, everything under the sun belongs to me. As such, a mere child could easily have arrived at your conclusion. However, I am aghast at your gall in asking me so bluntly to open my personal stores to you. You do indeed live up to your name as the Great King. Specifically, the Great King of Drunkards and Extortionists. You bet! There's nothing wrong with wanting delicious liquor and asking for it. Besides, surely you find it more fun to drink with others than to drink alone. Now come on, just produce it like you do everything else. I expect to see bottles upon bottles of the finest liquor around, enough to fill this very bath. You're the invincible King of Heroes, aren't you? Then you must take up a challenge when confronted. Despite your thick build, I see that it is words rather than muscles that are your greatest weapon. Dan it. Dan it. Dan it, dan it, dan it, dan it. Ah, what's this? It seems there's a black octopus dwelling within these waters. Aha, now I understand. Master must have brought this slippery creature here to let us attempt to catch hold of it, thus allowing us to train as we work up a sweat in the bath. What a wonderful master we have! Very well then, here it goes. Oh, it's so slippery and huge. No need to tell me. This must be a creature akin to the Umibozu I've heard stories about. Iskander! Oh, if it isn't the King of Persia and former Pharaoh. Well, if you're here too, a simple test of endurance may no longer be enough. So chat, Leonidas was trying to grab onto Darius's big black head. Take that as you will. Ugh, it's too damn noisy. Can't these jackasses keep their mouths shut when they're taking a bath? Well, that was fun scene. All them gotchi baths.
お見事です。さあ、次の回へ向かいましょう。